and we're off and running here in Swepsonville, North Carolina. Matt Handy with the announcement.
Welcome to the second 252 live draft. I'm Commissioner Matthew Handy. Tonight is the culmination of many years of hard work and perseverance among many young men. Tonight's draftees were rated by projected offense and defensive production along with availability. I, Matthew Handy, will be announcing the picks for the Swepsonville team. Deputy Commissioner Isaac Irby will be announcing the picks for the Saxapahaw team. A coin flip was used to decide first pick, which was won by Swepsonville. The draft is broken into rounds. Each round alternates which team has the first pick. Swepsonville is now on the clock.
Swepsonville is now on the clock. They have won the coin toss. Matt Handy, do you have any opinions on who might be the first overall pick?
I think Mike Casimir is probably the best available player in this draft pool, but last year Mike Pike went number 1, so we might see a repeat. What are you thinking, Isaac?
I would like to see Mike Casimir go, and I also feel like Mike Pike is a eligible lineman that could be very good. When I think of Jalen Faust, a new addition to the draft pool, I think that he's a very solid player. They're still discussing this pick. Commissioner Handy's on the clock for Swepsonville. He's a huge contender for Commissioner of the Year for any league. What do you think?
He's all right.
He's decent, according to my color commentator here. We're still waiting on the pick. Many people are on the edge of their seat. How did you feel last year getting drafted?
Oh, hold up. Here comes the pick right now.
With the first pick in the first round, Swepsonville selects linebacker, offensive lineman, and tight end from Irby, North Carolina, Alex Shalansky.
And there you have it, folks. Defensive Player of the Year last year, the 2016 Defensive Player of the Year, Alex Shalansky, was selected first overall. Is this an upset pick, Matt Handy, or do you think that this was a good pick?
Some might say this was an upset pick. I surely didn't see it coming, but last year many were arguing that this guy was the MVP, so it might not be a surprise, but it's hard to believe, Mike Pike and Mike Casimir, both the Mikes, still on the board after the first pick, along with Blake Epps.
That is true. Blake Epps is a top talent. Me personally, when I think back to the MVP award voting, I know I was asked to cast a ballot, and I didn't vote for Austin McClendon. Did you vote for Austin McClendon?
I did actually vote for Austin McClendon. It was a tough choice. Oh, hold up. Here comes Isaac Irby, Deputy Commissioner, with the pick.
With the second pick of the first round of the 252 football draft, Saxapahaw selects wide receiver and safety out of Graham, North Carolina, Blake Epps.
And so Blake Epps just went with the second pick. Matt Handy, you just said he was a top talent. 6'10", Blake Epps was selected. What do you think about this pick?
It's hard to argue with this pick. He dominates both sides of the field. We've seen this man have pick sixes. No one can really stop him when he's there. No one's stopping him. He can play QB, O-line, receiver. His goal line fade's unstoppable. Defensively, you're not throwing it over 10 yards when he's playing safety.
Blake Epps had a long-standing rivalry with all-pro running back Isaac Irby. Isaac Irby has recently retired to become permanent stat keeper, executive of the event staff, and many other positions with 252 organization. What do you think about his retirement?
I think it's going to lower Blake Epps' level of play. I think he came out every week, with some bitterness toward Isaac Irby, and he felt like he had to perform just to play at Isaac Irby's level. So we might see a dip in performance from Blake Epps, but this also might help him actually focus. But speaking of focus, here comes the pick.
With the third pick in the first round, Swepsonville selects offensive and defensive lineman from Swepsonville, North Carolina, Mike Pike.
Well, there you go, Mike Pike, considered by many to be a very talented lineman. Matt Handy, tell me about what about Mike Pike's blocking makes him a top talent?
Last year you run a play, you're running the ball, you're always running to Mike Pike's side of the field. Quarterback scrambling, he knows he's not going to have to scramble from Mike Pike's side because the block's going to be there. He's taking on 2-3 defenders at a time. Defensively, he's practically unstoppable. He's always pressuring the backfield, gets deflections with his long arms. I'm surprised he didn't go number 1, honestly, maybe due to some on-the-field issues.
Tell me about his rivalry with Joshua Chick.
Probably the most heated rivalry in the league. Josh Chick probably happy that he's on the other team, actually, but he's probably upset because he knows that Mike Pike's had his number all season long.
Well, there you have it, folks. Mike Pike has the number of Josh Chick. Will Josh Chick have anything to say? Here is Isaac Irby with the pick.
With the 4th pick of the first round of the 252 football draft, Saxapahaw selects offensive and defensive lineman out of Eastern Alamance High School, Jalen Faust.
This man is a scholarship offensive lineman. He has so much talent. He may be the best offensive lineman in the draft. Matt Handy, you endorsed Mike Pike. I'm endorsing Jalen Faust right now. Tell me what Jalen Faust can bring to this league as the number 4 overall pick.
Not only is he going to bring talent, but he's going to bring college football experience, leadership. He was coached by John Kirby, who many consider to be the top coach in the area. So if he would have played last year, this guy probably would have been the number 1 pick, but we don't know what we're going to get from him yet. But he's obviously a first-round talent.
He's obviously a wild card and obviously a first-rounder. The 5th pick is up. Who do you think might be the 5th pick?
It's hard to believe the MVP, Austin McClennan, is still on the board. But the way this team's looking, they picked a lineman, another lineman tweener, so they might go with some skill.
We're looking for skill with this next pick. They're taking a while. Do you think they're discussing anything back there?
I hope not. I hope Isaac Irby's not influencing Matt Handy decision-making as he has in the past. Hopefully Matt Handy's back there, Oh, speaking of.
With the 5th pick of the first round, Swepsonville selects offensive utility and cornerback from Southern Alamance High School, Jeremy Leggett.
Jeremy Leggett. Many people consider him one of the fastest players in the league. Some even say the best, and a flex quarterback as well. Tell me, what about Jeremy Leggett makes him such a threat to score a touchdown in any part of the field?
Well, speed, like you said, is the main thing. But last year, 5 touchdowns in one game, 1 of every kind, receiving, rushing, passing, kickoff, the only kickoff touchdown of the season, and a pick 6. He's just got great ball skills. He's a ball hawk on defense, can lock down anyone, but normally is, scanning the field, waiting for a pick. But when he gets the ball in his hands on offense, it's home run every time. They're going to have to keep the ball out of his hand.
Do you think Jeremy learned a lot from his brother Chris, who is also an excellent football player?
It's highly likely, but Jeremy's pretty talented on his own. He probably didn't need the help of his brother, but I'm also surprised he didn't go a little higher in this draft, but we had a small sample size from him last year, and I know he has a busy work schedule, so we'll see if he can make it out to many games this year, because if he does, he's going to be a high-impact player.
You heard it here first, folks. If Jeremy Leggett can make it out to the games, you're talking about a 3 or 4 touchdown performance, basically guaranteed. It's looking like, oh, here we come. Saxapahaw with the pick.
With the 6th pick of the first round of the 252 football draft, Saxapahaw selects corner, wide receiver, and punter out of NC State University, Davis Capper.
There we go.
This is the final pick of the first round. The second round is to follow.
The first round just ended there, as you can see. One of the highest character players in the league was just drafted, a man by the name of Davis Cafford. Tell me what makes Davis Cafford so special on the football field.
A lot of people might think Davis Cafford talent, not first round, but it's not just the talent that he brings at wide receiver, corner, and punter, which many people undervalue, but it's his leadership and mental on the field.
All right. Davis Cafford was just selected, and we're waiting on the next pick. Tell me, who's likely to go in the top of the second round?
Once again, MVP still on the board, but Mike Casimir was a projected maybe number 1 overall pick. He's still on the board. You really have to look at, what the needs of this team are. They already have Davis Cafford, Jalen Faust, and Blake Epps. They have a lot of size. They might be looking for some speed now. Not sure, maybe a quarterback, because the other team obviously has Jeremy Leggett, so they're going to have to match his scoring ability.
Jeremy Leggett has a lot of scoring ability. Now, tell me about this MVP situation. Do you think he's on the edge of his seat right now?
Oh, I'm sure he's livid. Oh, speaking of, here's the pick.
With the first pick of the second round of the 252 football draft, Saxapahaw selects a quarterback, wide receiver, and defensive back out of the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, Keenan McCauley.
Wow, Keenan McCauley just selected. He's a top quarterback, a top offensive talent. You don't know how to stop this guy. Matt Handy, how is the other team going to game plan against Keenan McCauley?
I think last year he kind of played off of his brother a lot. Almost a surprise that his brother didn't go first. But even without his brother, Keenan's a very dominant player. A lot of this I also believe is due to John Kirby coaching. But when he's at quarterback, he's a running threat that can't really be compared to anyone except maybe Josh Chick. But at receiver, same thing, speed. What do you think, Isaac?
A lot of John Kirby players have been getting drafted. Me personally, an all-pro running back myself out of Eastern Alamance High School, I can only think that I didn't play for John Kirby, but just being around John Kirby made me a better player. Not very many people from other high schools are getting drafted, but there's a lot of people in this draft from other high schools. Do you think John Kirby really is that big of an impact coach?
Well, 3 John Kirby players have been drafted, 4 Southern Alamance players drafted, so I'd say Southern Alamance doing a pretty good job. Also, some of these Southern Alamance players being drafted didn't play, though, so that might say something about that.
With the second pick of the second round, Swepsonville selects wide receiver and defensive back out of NC State, Ross Myers.
And there we have it. Ross Myers off the board. He's a sleeper pick. I really don't know how Ross Myers fell this far. He's one of the top receivers in the draft. He was a huge impact last year. Tell me, can anyone stop Ross Myers?
Not a first rounder. He can be stopped, but you're not going to ever question his consistency. What I think last year was a little underutilized. Saw him in some non-252 events and in 252 events, just dominating. When the ball's in his hand, he's scoring. He had a game-winning touchdown caught off last year. It was a questionable call, a false start. Hopefully the referees this year can do a little better job. But Ross Myers, when he was showing up and touching the ball, he was dominating. He's a quiet player, so the team's got to be willing to give him the ball. I think that's going to show his ceiling this year, how willing the team is to use him. But here comes Isaac Irby with the next pick for Saxapahaw.
With the third pick of the second round of the 252 football draft, Saxapahaw selects an offensive and defensive lineman out of Eastern Alamance High School, Louis Porco.
And there we have it, folks. Louis Porco was picked, one of the most popular players in the league. People just love the passion that he brings to the field. He's a fiery player. You can't describe him as anything else. Tell me, can Louis Porco guide this offensive line to greatness?
Not only is he a great offensive line, but he's a great leader. People just follow his passion. He's so passionate that people are asking him to play some fullback to get some touches. He was 1 carry, 1 touchdown last season, so he might even put some scoring out there this year, depending on how many lineman friends he can bring to the squad.
You heard it here first, guys. Louis Porco, he can be an offensive threat at more than just the offensive line position. Do you think that Louis Porco was drafted with the intent of him dropping, a few touchdowns?
I think what might have held him back from being drafted a little higher was he did miss a few games due to injury, but that wasn't due to him. That was due to the league having to restrain him. This man was willing to play with a broken leg. I think that shows his passion. Greg Jennings style broken leg on the field, wanting to play, but restricted by Commissioner Handy, who many in this league have problems with but respect.
I personally don't respect him and have many. And I personally, here he is with the pick.
With the fourth pick in the second round, Swepsonville selects offensive and defensive lineman out of Eastern Guilford High School, Latrell Brown.
Latrell Brown, you heard it here first. I don't even know this guy. Tell me something about him.
Latrell Brown, he's not a very known player, comes from a mid-major, Eastern Guilford, but he's a top talent. He could have went first round. He's a younger guy, maybe a little smaller guy, but from all I've seen and heard, this man's a monster at offensive line. And, this is the year of the offensive lineman in 252 flag football, so it's no surprise that he's going high. You got to build your offensive line. He's a guy you want to build around.
You say you're the offensive lineman. I've noticed myself, there's so many talented linemen getting drafted. Do skill guys need to step it up this year?
I think the skill guys do need to step it up. They also need to give their linemen more credit. People think that they're, talented skill guys, but they're really playing off the play of their linemen. That's why you see so many linemen going high, because, skill guys like Blake Epps and Jeremy Leggett, who are off the board, you know what they're going to bring. But the rest of these guys, they're going to need their linemen to play.
Are you saying that my all-pro vote as a running back was more endorsement of my offensive line than my own talent?
We'll leave it to the deputy commissioner to decide.
With the 5th pick of the 2nd round of the 2-5-2 football draft, Saxapahaw selects long snapper out of Wingate, Austin McClendon.
And there you have it, folks. Last year's MVP drafted in the 5th pick of the 2nd round. That's the 11th pick. Do you think that's high or low for Austin McClendon, or is this just where he belongs?
10 guys drafted above him. He's going to be mad. He's going to be playing with a chip on his shoulder this season. Spoke to him today. He said, look, draft pick doesn't matter. I was drafted low last year, won MVP. He's looking to repeat this year.
Do you think Austin McClendon, with the addition of all this talent, really has a case for MVP again?
It's going to be like NBA analysis, Steph Curry. He won the MVP. Next year, almost won Most Improved. That might be Austin McClendon. The year before, he was just a Southern Alamance football player. This year, he's a collegiate athlete.
Austin McClendon is a long snapper for Wingate. Do you think he can bring his long snapping prowess to this team?
I think he can. People underappreciate the long snapper. They also underappreciate Austin McClendon's passion. Along with Louis, Austin McClendon is another passion player.
They have Blake Epps, a top punter. Is Saxapahaw looking to build the strongest special teams 252 has ever seen?
It looks like it. Davis Cappert, Blake Epps, and Austin McClendon, those are top special teams guys in the league. You pair that with Louis Porco blocking and some other guys.
That sounds like an incredible team. We were waiting on the final pick of the 2nd round here. Do you have any guesses?
Oh, man. Austin Smith, I see is still on the board. That'd be a good pick. But as far as direct impact goes, might see Hunter Farlow, Mike Casimir.
With the last pick of the 2nd round, Swepsonville selects wide receiver, offensive lineman, and linebacker out of Southern Alamance High School, Hunter Farlow.
There we go, Hunter Farlow. A guy who he just impacts wherever you put him on the field, especially on defense. Tell me about some top defensive highlights you've seen out of Hunter Farlow.
It's another guy who plays through injury, shows up in a walking boot, leads the team in flag pulls, a diving flag pull in a walking boot. He can play both ways. He's a dominant offensive lineman, but can also play receiver, known for his hurdling ability on offense. Next to Alex Shalansky, Matt Handy, and Josh Chick, he's probably one of the top flag pullers in the league.
Hunter Farlow has been working out this offseason, is what I've been hearing, that he's been lifting a lot of weights, and his gains are off the charts. Is this man going to shove around corners?
I think he's going to shove around defensive linemen. He's going to be playing a lot O-line this year and a lot of receiver, tight end. I think he's going to be shoving around anyone he goes up against.
You heard it first. If you're a lineman on the other team, you might get shoved around.
I'm not sure if this is true or not, but I hear word that Hunter Farlow dad entered into this draft. We'll see if he got picked or not, but I think if you pair those guys on the same team, you'll have a dominant O-line.
With the first pick in the 3rd round, Swepsonville selects offensive and defensive linemen from the University of North Carolina at Wilmington, Will Kirkpatrick.
And there you go. If there's one word that I would use to describe Will Kirkpatrick, it would be solid. Now, he was not an all-star, but he was just a great starter. What can he do to become an all-252 player this year?
I think he's going to have to take on the great linemen. He can take on almost all linemen, but these first-rounders, can he take on Mike Pike? Can he take on Jalen Fowles? If he does this, he'll be an all-pro lineman this year. And on the defensive end, his team's got to put him in a better position to get sacks. He's a great defensive rusher, but his team sometimes held him back.
The lack of sacks. Do you think this is his team's fault, or is it his lack of a swim move?
It's a great point. I think it may be the lack of his swim move. He is a power player, but he could be a finesse player. He works out, but maybe needs to, Hunter Farlow's doing the all-weight program. Maybe if Will Kirkpatrick wants to be an all-pro, hit the speed ladders.
And here we have the pick for Saxapahaw.
With the 2nd pick of the 3rd round in the 252 football draft, Saxapahaw selects quarterback and defensive back out of the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, Mike Casimir.
Wow, we see Mike Casimir selected here. He dominated the league last year. Mike Casimir, a top quarterback, straight out of Eastern Alamance High School, another John Kirby coach players. We see those guys flying off the board at the top end of this draft. Tell me about Mike Casimir. What made him such a dominant quarterback?
Like you said, he dominated. He was 3-0 in games he played in. For him to fall to the third round was a shocker. It may be due to his availability this summer, but he dominated on offense. He sees the game in slow motion. Not only that, but he can extend the pocket. He's got legs. He's got the best arm in the league, and he just sees the field so great. But a lot of people underestimate his defensive ability.
Now, Mike Casimir coordinated a lot of defenses last year that ended up winning the championship. Is Mike Casimir somebody that – and here's the pick.
With the third pick in the third round, Swepsonville selects offensive and defensive lineman out of Eastern Carolina University, Austin Smith.
Eastern Carolina. Never heard of them. I think it's East Carolina. What do you say, Matt Handy?
I say Austin Smith was a good pick at this point in the draft. I think he got a lot of value in the third round. His swim move on Josh Chick last year was absolutely amazing. It may have been the top play from last year. But this guy, he just brings so much to the table defensively. He won a few games for the Swepsonville Land Sharks with some interceptions. He can play O-line, tight end. Him and Brandon Wade, I'd look for this team to select Brandon Wade as well. Their connection on offense is just unstoppable.
Well, we better hope that if they
we do hope that that's the case, because that would be an unstoppable matchup. There are some other top players on the board that might go ahead of him. Right now, we're still looking at some linemen to get picked. Who do you think's next? Oh, wait, here comes Isaac Irby. We'll see who he has for Saxapahaw.
With the fourth pick of the third round of the 252 football draft, Saxapahaw selects offensive talent out of Woodlawn Middle School, Kason McCauley.
Now, this guy is a middle schooler. We know this much about him. But he made some insane plays, including scoring the first ever touchdown in 252 history. What does this guy bring to the table? Are people going to underestimate him by noticing that he's a middle schooler?
A lot of people might be upset that he went this high, but I might even argue he went too low. He's drafted to the same team as his brother. He's kind of the same case as Brandon Wade and Austin Smith. Their connection, as you said, they scored the first touchdown of the season last year in a handicap match. But Kason McCauley, he brings a lot of offensive talent to the table. His low center of gravity makes it hard to pull his flag, and his quickness.
Some people describe Kason McCauley as a shifty player. Do you look to see Kason get some carries out of the backfield this year?
Just as Hunter Farlow in the championship game last year. Top play, we said Hunter Farlow, one of the top flag pullers. Kason half spin, Hunter Farlow went flying.
Here's the pick.
With the fifth pick of the third round, Swepsonville selects quarterback, wide receiver, and defensive back out of Eastern Carolina University, Brandon Wade.
Well, there you go. Brandon Wade selected. You knew they had to, because they already had selected Austin Smith. If they didn't get Brandon Wade, they would just be losing out on value. What does Brandon Wade bring to the table as a guy who can play any position he wants?
First off, I'd like to say I called this pick 2 picks ago. I'm just reading the mind of this guy, but Brandon Wade, first game of the season, he helped his team, led his team to an overtime win. But he's also a selfless guy. He's willing to play any position the team needs. He's just like Austin Smith, both selfless guys. What do you think, Isaac?
Brandon Wade is a guy that didn't play football in high school, but he just sees the game so well and stepped into the quarterback position and really produced for Swepsonville when they really needed it. Now here he is this year, back at it again. I'm looking forward to see Brandon Wade win some games for his team. And here's the pick for Saxapahaw.
With the sixth pick of the third round of the 252 football draft, Saxapahaw selects offensive and defensive lineman out of North Carolina State University, Prescott Kirkpatrick.
We heard it here first, guys. Prescott Kirkpatrick, the last pick of the third round. I'm just going to come out here and say it. He's got a twin brother in the league who was drafted above him. Who's better, Will or Prescott?
think they're both different kinds of players. Prescott's more of a long defensive presence, getting a lot of deflections, while Will's really a great offensive lineman. But I think the draft was right. Will's the better player. He got drafted higher.
All right. Well, I wonder if Prescott Kirkpatrick will respond to this. Last year, he didn't respond. Do you think he will this year?
Hard to say. I don't think he cares as much about how he performs compared to his brother as much as he does about winning. You know, he goes to NC State. That school doesn't really know what winning feels like, so he comes to 2-5-2 to win.
Well, he didn't win last year either. Is Prescott Kirkpatrick just a guy that loses a lot?
That's for the fans to decide.
You heard it here first, fans, and you're about to hear the first pick of the 4th round.
With the first pick of the 4th round of the 252 football draft, Saxapahaw selects offensive and defensive lineman out of Mebane, North Carolina, Brandon Diaz.
We heard it here first, guys. Brandon Diaz, a new addition to 252. He's projected to be a top lineman, a very strong guy, and he's out of Eastern Alamance High School. This is another John Kirby coached player. We don't know what to expect out of Brandon Diaz, but give us a little preview.
Haven't scouted this guy much. You know more about him than me, but if you played for John Kirby, he's only going to give you positives on the field. What do you think from your experience with Brandon?
What I know of him is that he's a very strong guy, played alongside Louis Porco, and anyone that's played alongside Louis Porco has ended up being great for the league. Tell me about Louis Porco and who he's brought to this league and how good they've been.
Every player Louis Porco brings is good. Louis Porco is great for this league. One day when we have a logo, he's up there competing with Josh Chick for, the logo like Jerry West in the NBA. But Louis Porco brought players like Austin Smith, Alex Shalansky, Brandon Wade, all guys who have been drafted. Jalen Faust brought them this year. Louis Porco only brings high talented players.
Since you mentioned it, it's good to, since you mentioned Josh Chick, that is, Derek Jones and Josh Chick are going to be the, and here's the pick.
With the second pick in the 4th round, Swepsonville selects wide receiver and defensive back out of NC State University, Nick Orman.
Nick Orman just picked. Is this low or high for Nick Orman? What do you see him doing this year?
I mean, if you ask Nick Orman, he would say he should be the #1 pick. And Louis Porco, we just talked up, that was his MVP vote last season. So a lot of people think a 4th round selection from Nick Orman's a steal. We would ask Nick Orman right now, but he's in Eastern Asia, so this may be affecting why he got picked low. He's going to be missing a few games due to mission trip, but he'll be here for the second half of the season. He's going to be an impact player. He's a deep ball threat. This guy loves to go deep, and he can catch it against the bigs.
You mentioned it, Nick Orman and the deep ball threat. Now, to get back to what we were talking about earlier, Derek Jones and Josh Chick, you're not going to see him drafted tonight because Josh Chick is going to be the on-the-field leader for Saxapahaw, and Derek Jones will be taking the same position for Swepsonville. You were an on-the-field leader last year. What does that require of a player to make sure that he's making the right decisions for his team?
I think you have to ask yourself when you're leading the team, not what is fun to me, but what's going to help our team win. You have to be willing to play any position. Last year I played center, tight end, any line position. We'll see what position this next player gets picked.
With the 3rd pick of the 4th round of the 252 football draft, Saxapahaw selects center and defensive lineman out of Southern Alamance High School, Derek Hopkinsey.
Now, this guy, he's considered to be the top center in the 252 draft. How did he go this low?
Shout out Derek Poppensay. I got to say hot sauce. But Derek Poppensay is the best center in the league. He might be undervalued going this low, as you said, but we need to see him at a few more games before he goes higher. But I think he's the best center in the league. But back to what you're saying about Derek and Josh, to be a good on-field leader, you got to be willing to play any position, not quarterback, maybe line, playing anywhere you want. Also, you got to put other guys at positions where they're going to succeed. You got to make everyone on the team feel special. You can't just like your top players. You got to bring the best out of everyone, including yourself.
And here's the pick.
With the 4th pick in the 4th round, Swepsonville selects QB out of Graham Middle School, Jalen Brown.
Did you just say out of Graham Middle School? Are you joking me? Who is Jalen Brown? And tell me why the league needs to be on watch.
We could be seeing this guy go 1st round next year. He might be the best QB in the league. He only threw 2 interceptions in a 7-game season for Graham Middle School, and they were to the top safety in the middle school league. You might say middle school, but Casey McCauley, an All-Pro last year as a middle schooler.
Wow. 2 picks? That's a Josh Chick dream. Tell me, is Josh Chick an interception-prone quarterback?
I don't think that's even a question. If Josh Chick isn't throwing picks, the world might have ended.
Let's see if Jalen Brown can bring that 2-interception mentality to 252 flag football. Tell me, Matt Handy, right now, is Jalen Brown going to throw more or less than 2 interceptions this year?
I'm going to have to say more. I think that's a high expectation, but I don't think he'll throw more than double-digit interceptions this year. I mean, Josh Chick had some 5-interception games, and this guy threw 2 interceptions in a whole season. I don't think he'll throw over 9 interceptions this year.
That's what we're seeing out of Jalen Brown. Now here's the pick.
With the 5th pick of the 4th round of the 252 football draft, Saxapahaw selects wide receiver and defensive back out of North Carolina State University, Brian Joins.
Well, there you have it. Brian Joins just got selected. A wide receiver. What's this guy going to bring to his team?
Brings attitude and swagger. I mean, nickname Hands, so he's also going to bring catching. This guy's a great receiver, something this team needed.
Your nickname is also Hands. Tell me why that is.
I didn't know that was my nickname, to be honest, but probably because I was one of the top leaders in interceptions last year in the league.
Some would also say you played the most games last year. Do you think that inflated your stats?
I don't think so, because I was also most willing to let other players play for me. You know, I played linebacker, safety, center, you know. I think I'm just good at getting interceptions. It's easy, though, when Josh Chick's throwing the ball your way.
Do you think you're a better quarterback than Josh Chick?
Wait just a second.
With the last pick of the 4th round, Swepsonville selects wide receiver, safety, and pass rusher out of Swepsonville, North Carolina, Cody Olichev.
Cody Olichev just got picked. You think he'll be mad that he went this low? I mean, it was the 4th round.
He'll be very angry. I think he could potentially be a first or second rounder next year. I think he was underutilized this season, but I also think he's got to bring a little more consistency, be it a few more games, and we'll see him going higher. But he's probably the best pass rush and safety in the league.
Tell me about Cody Olichev's chemistry problems.
I think a lot of those were due to Josh Chick. Not that Josh Chick wasn't a good leader. I think they were just such good friends. They demanded such of a high level at each other. I think it'll do Cody Olichev some good not being on Josh Chick's team this year. I think Derek Jones would utilize him better. And I think playing against Josh, it'll bring out something in Cody.
Here's the pick.
With the first pick of the 5th round, Swepsonville selects offensive and defensive lineman from Southern Alamance High School, Zach Putnam.
Zach Putnell, he's a new addition. I don't know much about him, but I'm sure you do. Tell me, is Zach Putnell a dangerous lineman?
He's a top lineman. I think we'll be seeing a lot of him in highlight plays this year, which reminds me that we will be filming all 252 games this year. What are some other additions we'll be having to the league?
We have a new first down system that will not be as interesting as last year's system, let's just say. It'll be a lot like the NFL, 10 yards, and the cones will move, and they'll move back if you get sacked. Do you think Zach Putnell's going to have a lot of sacks? Tell me, how many sacks do you think Zach Putnell's going to have this year?
I think he's going to have at least 5. If it comes to 10 games, he might have more, but I see him being a high defensive player. He's one of the starting linemen for Southern Alamance this year. I think he'll really enjoy the new first down system. I think he'll watch himself on film, which I think many people will do and enjoy this year's film. Also, I've heard there will be an improvement in officiating this year. Is that true?
I don't know. Our officials are pretty low mental. So tell me, Zach Putnell, if he played for Eastern Alamance, would he be a better player?
I think that's a biased question.
With the second pick of the 5th round, Saxapahaw selects wide receiver and defensive back out of Southern Alamance High School, Zach Bird.
Now, when I hear this name, Zach Bird, what I most remember is, didn't he have a game-ending pick 6 against Swepsonville last year?
Back-to-back Zach's off the board. I think that's pretty interesting. But yes, he did. Zach Bird had a great season last year. I think he even won Player of the Game one year. But speaking of Player of the Game, this year we will be having linemen of the game every game. As we said earlier, this is the year of the linemen. We haven't seen many linemen go. Recently, the last round, we saw one lineman go. Do you think there'll be any linemen taking this round?
Linemen are the backbone of your team. That's why they line up in a backbone shape. I think we will absolutely see linemen get drafted this round. Who do you think is the lineman that's next to be drafted?
It's a great question. We'll see if he goes right now.
With the third pick in the 5th round, Swepsonville selects offensive talent and defensive back out of Alamance County, Trevor Woods.
Trevor Woods just got selected. I don't know much about him. Tell me what you know.
I've seen this man play. Very, very talented. He's a younger guy. Rivals with Emmett Raggett. If they go on the same team, it might cause some chemistry problems. We'll see where he goes. He's a very talented player, but I'm a little surprised that they didn't go with the lineman here. How do you feel about how these two captains have been picking so far?
Let me answer that after this pick.
With the 4th pick, the 5th round of the 252 football draft, Saxapahaw selects center and defensive lineman at Southern Alamance High School, Patrick Stewart.
Wow, Patrick Stewart just went off the board. There's your lineman. I think that was a great pick, and I think that both captains have been picking well. And now, Patrick Stewart, he's a center. Is the center position the most important position along the offensive line? And by that, the entire football team?
I think it's important that you have a good center who can handle snap counts. This pick was quick.
With the 5th pick in the 5th round, Swepsonville selects wide receiver and defensive talent out of Alamance County, Justin Holt.
Justin Holt, he's a new addition to the league. Tell me about Justin Holt.
No surprise this pick was quick. This is a no-brainer. I can't believe he slid to the 5th round. He competed in the 252 basketball tournament, led his team to 3rd place. They played some tough teams. Really surprised they didn't win, but he will dominate the league depending on how many games he's in. I think he's one of the guys, along with Alex Shalansky, former Defensive Player of the Year, who can cover Blake Epps in single coverage, which is not an easy task.
Wow, covering Blake Epps in single coverage. So he came in 3rd place in the basketball tournament. Hope he doesn't do that this year. Here's the pick.
With the 6th pick of the 5th round of the 252 football draft, Saxapahaw selects running back and defensive player out of Alamance County, Blake Caldwell.
You got a little choked up at the end there. Tell me what you've been thinking about his announcing job.
I'm speechless. Not sure why he's laughing at such a serious manner. I think he just got a steal on Blake Caldwell off the board. This guy can dominate at running back. This is the first, I think, pure running back we've seen go off the board besides Austin McClendon, who converted to long snapper in the offseason.
Wow, here's another pick.
With the 1st pick of the 6th round of the 252 football draft, Saxapahaw selects out of their own Saxapahaw, North Carolina, offensive lineman and defensive lineman, Bryce McCullough.
Wow, Bryce McCullough just got selected. He's a guy that you can stick anywhere on the line and you know that you're going to get production. Is Bryce McCullough more valuable due to his flexibility?
I think he is valuable that you know he's going to come willing to play line and dominate any line position. I was just thinking about the reason I was laughing. I was thinking about the Austin McClendon left-handed pick that he threw to Bryce McCullough. Bryce McCullough has surprisingly good hands for a lineman.
With the 2nd pick in the 6th round, Swepsonville selects running back and defensive talent out of Southern Alamance High School, Haston Watson.
Now, this is another new addition to the league. Tell me what makes Mr. Watson such a dangerous pick in the 6th round.
His work ethic. You see this guy at the gym all the time. The only reason he went this low is just due to being a new addition. He can dominate the running back position. He's also a punter. Really, he's like Austin McClendon, but except he might be a little better.
You heard it here first, folks. Haston Watson, a rich man's Austin McClendon.
That's right. You heard it here. Matt Handy said better than the former MVP.
And here's the pick.
With the 3rd pick of the 6th round of the 252 football draft, Saxapahaw selects an offensive and defensive lineman at Alamance County, Edward Golston.
And there you go, Edward Golston off the board. And that's a solid lineman. This team is loading up on the linemen. Which team do you think has the better lineman so far?
It's hard to say. Both teams have been loading up on linemen. I think both teams learned from last year how important linemen are and how important it is for guys to be willing to play line.
And here's the pick.
With the 4th pick in the 6th round, Swepsonville selects offensive lineman, tight end, and linebacker out of Swepsonville, North Carolina, Nick McGrainer.
Nick McGrainer. Wow, what a pick. Tell me all the positions that he can impact you in on the football field.
He can impact you at all lineman spots besides center. He can play center, but why would you need to with so many other great centers in the league? He can play tight end, linebacker, defensive line. He can slow down Blake Epps, so this is another good option, but he also brings leadership and football knowledge. When this guy's on the team, your football IQ is going up. He's helping other linebackers, other defensive linemen figure out blitzing schemes. He brings a lot of leadership.
He had a drop problem last year. You said it yourself.
I'm not sure why you're quoting me offset. I'm not sure where that quote came from. I may have been referring to Matt McDaniel, but not Nick McGrainer, because I think he's a very talented tight end. And Isaac Irby, deputy commissioner, hesitation with the pick. We thought he was coming. Well, we'll see what happens. Maybe there's a trade in the works. Maybe he's trading down, trading picks. Here we go. We're about to see.
With the 5th pick, 6th round of the 252 football draft, Saxapahaw selects offensive and defensive player at Southern Alamance High School, Caleb Wilson.
Wow, Caleb Wilson just went off the board. I don't know who that is. Tell me what makes him a very dangerous pick here in the 6th round.
Natural athleticism.
This man is quoted as being very athletic. Wow. Is he a football talent? Has he worked on his hands? Can he catch? What position is he looking to?
With the last pick of the 6th round, Swepsonville selects wide receiver and cornerback out of Elon University, Chandler Woods.
Wow. So compare these last two picks, Chandler Woods and Caleb Wilson. Tell me, which of these two guys is going to produce more?
I think Chandler Woods, due to his football experience at Southern Alamance High School, really a boneheaded pick to let Chandler Woods slide this far. I think it's going to be very productive. I think this next pick will be productive. We'll see who it is.
With the 1st pick of the 7th round, Swepsonville selects offensive and defensive lineman out of Southern Alamance High School, Vince Newman.
That's Vince Naaman, but don't blame the commissioner. Anyway, Vince Naaman, he's another guy that you can just put on the line and know that that gap is going to be filled. This is year of the lineman. It's going to be so much competition for who's going to get lineman of the week. Who do you think is going to get lineman of the week on opening day?
It's going to be hard to say. People are going to be just out every week trying to get lineman of the week. There is no other award each week besides lineman of the week. And Vince, he can also play the center position. He's a very capable center, but he's capable of playing all lineman spots, and he's great at stopping the run on defense.
Here's the pick.
With the 2nd pick of the 7th round, Saxapahaw selects an offensive and defensive lineman out of the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, John Hester.
You heard it. John Hester with the pick. I'm going to ask you again, like I always do. John Hester and Vince Naaman. Look, who's going to perform better on the offensive line for their respective teams?
I think Vince due to experience, but I also think John Hester's going to bring a lot to the team. He played collegiate club football for UNCG, a teammate of Keenan McCauley, who we know was a top pick. I think he's going to bring a lot to the table. He's a very strong offensive lineman, very aggressive. Different playing style from Vince, but both impactful.
You heard it here first. John Hester's bringing a lot, but less than Vince Naaman. Man, he just came... Man, he just came out and turned around. Do you think he's changing picks? Do you think he had a pick and had second thoughts? Let's find out.
With the third pick in the 7th round, Swepsonville selects offensive and defensive lineman out of Southern Alamance High School, Kenry Park.
Kenry Park, he's another guy that I haven't met yet, but I look forward to it. What position does he play?
He's a great offensive lineman, played for Southern. He'll contribute to his team in great ways. But how excited are you for this flag football season? Coming off some other sports, you know, all our fantasy sports, our basketball tournament, and the new addition, which many people love, blitzball.
Blitzball is a great sport. I personally played in the championship game myself. Was the only guy on my team to get a hit. And here's the pick.
With the 4th pick of the 7th round, Saxapahaw selects wide receiver and defensive back out of Alamance Home School, Garrett Ball.
Wow, Garrett Ball. He's a guy that I personally don't know, but you do. So Garrett Ball, what can he contribute to his team?
He's a very similar player to Davis Cappert, who was a first-round pick. He brings a lot of character, a lot of just overall talent. He's gonna help the morale of your team, the team chemistry. But he also just loves to compete. He recommended a combine this year, was upset they missed out, but let's not miss out on this pick.
With the 5th pick of the 7th round, Swepsonville selects offensive lineman, tight end, and defensive lineman out of Burlington Christian Academy, Nick Baird.
Now, I don't know much about Nick Baird, but all I know that he's got a great post-game in basketball. But having a great post-game in basketball is not good enough to be an excellent player on the football field. Does he have what it takes?
He does. He's a hard worker, a great player. You heard tight end. Just like in basketball, he's got the three-point shot to go with the post-game. Well, in football, he'll have the hands to go along with playing line. I think he can dominate the offensive line position. He's a very strong guy, and he's a competitor.
He's a competitor. You heard it here first. He was the starting center for BCA basketball.
He was the starting center. He may be the starting center for his football team as well. He's a two-sport athlete.
It reminds me of when the Detroit Lions took Laken Tomlinson. They said they picked a guard out of Duke, but they did it in the wrong sport.
Let's see who this guy picks.
With the final pick, the 7th round, Saxapahaw selects a quarterback out of Pensacola Christian, Blake Edwards.
Now, when I think about Blake Edwards, I think about a high mental guy who just sees the game, and you can see him doing complex math. When he throws the ball, you see trigonometry being done on the chalkboard. Tell me, is Blake Edwards the answer to quarterback?
If you got this guy at quarterback, your team's going to move the ball efficiently, have low turnovers, and just have high mental plays. You're going to see him doing your favorite play, the throw out of bounds. You're going to see he can extend the play, too. He's got a great set of legs. People just have to trust this guy. He's another selfless guy like Ross Myers. You put him at quarterback, though, he'll give you some production.
Here we go.
With the first pick of the 8th round, Saxapahaw selects offensive and defensive star out of the Buffalo Bills organization, Matt Casimir.
Out of the Buffalo Bills? Did we just see an NFL player get drafted?
We just saw the first NFL player go off the board in the 8th round. I'm not sure if that says something about the NFL or about these captains' poor ability to pick players. But we had a small sample size from this guy last year, one game. If he can make it to more than one game this year, I think he'll have a lot of high impact. But I'm surprised that Matt McDaniel was selected after Matt Casimir.
With the 2nd pick of the 8th round, Swepsonville selects wide receiver and safety out of Southern Alamance High School, Matt McDaniel.
When you just said that you were surprised that Matt McDaniel would go after him, and then he just got picked.
I can't believe it. I believe I called that one, but, you know, the first Matt off the board was Matt Casimir. I thought the first Matt off the board would be Matt McDaniel. And then we got back-to-back Matts, just like we had back-to-back Zachs. This is very interesting. But Matt McDaniel, I think he's going to be very upset. I think he might have went low due to he was projected to be in Texas for a lot of the summer. Maybe he can work out that. If so, he probably would have been a much higher pick. Same thing for him last year. He was a potential MVP candidate, just missed a few games. I know that him and Austin McClendon have a rivalry. Now that they're on different teams, we'll see how they compete against each other.
I heard Matt McDaniel had a lot of picks in the games that he played. I mean, Is this guy looking to be Defensive Player of the Year, and does he have a shot?
He does have a shot. He's very impactful on defense, can catch. He's great at safety, can get picks. But when he catches them, that's not the end of it. He can take them back for a touchdown.
And we know that he picked off Josh Chick a lot, and it looks like he's going to be playing against him. What do you say to that?
I think he's going to love the challenge going against Josh Chick. This next pick's taking a while. Who do you think might be next?
I don't know what's going on. I look to see top linemen like Alex Kivett. He's the top guy. I think of Emmett Raggett, and he's, he's a top corner. Cody Simpson. That's another guy that's on the board that I'm looking at. Lane Sanders. Josh Chick once said that Lane Sanders was a better defender than Blake Epps. Tell me what you think about that.
I think Josh Chick might be upset that Blake Epps was picked above Lane Sanders, but we'll see who this pick is. Oh, what is this? A change.
He just got dragged back into the room. Matt Handy's walking out. What is this?
There's a trade to be announced. Swepsonville trades Matt McDaniel and Trevor Woods to Saxapahaw for Patrick Stewart and Matt Casimir.
So we saw two skills get traded for a skill and a lineman. One of those skills included NFL player Matt Casimir. We also saw Matt McDaniel go, as well as Patrick Stewart and Trevor Woods, the new wild card addition to the league. Who won this trade? Which team?
I've just got inside information from Austin McClendon that Matt McDaniel will not be reporting to Texas this year. That may have influenced his trade. I'm not sure, but I think getting Matt McDaniel is a positive. Getting Trevor Woods and Patrick Stewart positive. It's not a surprise to see Matt Casimir traded. His availability might be in question this year, but I think both teams won this trade. But getting a lineman is always a win.
Getting a lineman is always a win. You heard it here from Matt Handy. He loves linemen.
But how about that? The first trade in 252 history during the draft.
Some would say it wasn't.
With the third pick of the 8th round, Saxapahaw selects an offensive and defensive lineman out of Alamance County, Alex Kivett.
Alex Kivett, he was a guy that I was looking for to get drafted soon. This man is a strong lineman. This dude can push ice cream trucks down a hill. Alex Kivett, tell me, what makes him such a dominant lineman?
I mean, you called the pick. You said the next lineman would be Alex Kivett. Can you call this next pick? Who do you think?
With the fourth pick in the 8th round, Swepsonville selects wide receiver and defensive back out of Southern Alamance High School, Emmett Raggett.
I wouldn't have picked that. Oh, man. Tell me, is Emmett Raggett better than we think?
I do think this was a good pick, maybe a stretch, but he's also a productive player. But Matt Handy has been making some inconsistent, boneheaded picks for Swepsonville. But still, even with these picks where he's leaving great players on the board, I think that his Swepsonville might be better than Saxapahaw.
And here's the pick.
With the 5th pick of the 8th round, the 252 football draft, Saxapahaw selects a wide receiver and linebacker out of Southern Alamance High School, Colin Moore.
There we go. Colin Moore just got selected. I don't know much about him, but Matt Handy, you got to tell me, is Colin Moore someone who could dominate this league?
I believe so. He's like a Hunter Farlow type player. Just you can't always pick what he's good at, but he's good at everything. He might not have that one thing that he's a star at, but he's going to give you everything on the court.
Well, there you go, on the court. So, a lot of people have been drafted, and we always do the top 10 plays of the year. And here's the pick.
With the last pick in the 8th round, Swepsonville selects power back and linebacker out of Southern Alamance High School, Jacob Orman.
Jacob Orman just got selected. A running back. It's about time that we saw one get off the board. Is this guy, how many rushing touchdowns do you think Jacob Orman's going to have?
Now that he's off of Josh Chick's team, I think he's going to be utilized more efficiently. I think running backs are undervalued in this league.
And there you have it.
With the first pick of the 9th round, Swepsonville selects wide receiver and linebacker out of Southern Alamance High School, Matt Separano.
Matt Severano with the pick. Don't know much about him, Matt Haney, but I know that you do. You've been scouting this man all year. Tell me, what does he bring to the league?
His first name's Matt. We've seen historically that Matts dominate this league. Matt Handy, Matt McDaniel, Matt Casimir. I think he'll fall right in line.
Hopefully he plays like Matt Handy and shows up to every game, because we know that's all that Matt Handy did for stats. What do you say to that?
I think you can see his blitzball championship and flag football championship and fantasy football championship, and they'll talk for you.
With the second pick of the 9th round, the 252 football draft, Saxapahaw selects
Wow. What's happening? Is he changing the pick? What do you think's happening?
I think he came out, looked at his team roster, and realized that he probably had a need for a lineman. He's probably about to pick a skill guy. There's some top skill guys available, such as Javier Gonzalez, Luke Dawkins, Lane Sanders. And I think that he was going to make that pick, but instead he's like, this is the year of the lineman. We need to build around linemen. We'll see how it goes.
All right, let's hear the pick.
with the second pick of the 9th round, the 252 football draft. Saxapahaw selects an offensive and defensive lineman at Southern Alamance High School, Cody Simpson.
Wow, Cody Simpson just got selected. He's a top lineman. He could be a steal in the 9th round. He's friends with Austin McClendon. Who's going to have more impact? The reigning MVP, Austin McClendon, or Cody Simpson?
When Cody Simpson's on the field, I think he'll have more impact than Austin McClendon. He's a great lineman. He's really been working hard in the weight room this offseason and putting on a lot of muscle. The game he came to last year, he was very effective. We hope to see him in more games this season.
I'm going to ask you straight up. Who was your pick for MVP this year? The preseason pick from Matt Handy as who's going to be MVP?
My pick this year will be Alex Shalansky.
Now I'm going to go with a wild card, a quarterback that only had 2 interceptions, Jalen Brown. And here's the pick.
With the 3rd pick in the 9th round, Swepsonville selects two-way utility player out of Alamance Christian School, Spencer Ellingson.
Spencer Ellingson out of ACS. Matt Handy, what does he bring to the football field?
I have nothing but good things to say about this guy. This guy's high character. I have a lot of respect for him. Any sport he plays, he just dominates from fundamentals and hard work. This guy's really talented, though. He's going to bring a lot to his team.
I'm looking forward to seeing him play. Defensive Player of the Year. Matt McDaniel was talked about. Who do you think is going to get it?
It's a great question. I think as of right now, Defensive Player of the Year, Mike Pike.
With the 4th pick of the 9th round, the 252 football draft, Saxapahaw selects offensive and defensive lineman out of Southern Alamance High School, Ruben Lopez.
Wow, Ruben Lopez off the board. Ahead of his friend, Javier Gonzalez. You think Javier's going to be mad?
Cousin of Javier, actually, and I do think that he will be upset. I'm actually surprised that he went this high. Isaac Irby has never met Ruben Lopez, so he may be thinking that he's a star, and that's why I picked him so high, which he will be good this year.
5th pick in the 9th round, Swepsonville selects center and defensive player out of Alamance Community College, Jared Neal.
Now, when I think of Jared Neal, I think of a guy that had never played center in his life, stepped in, snapped the ball over the quarterback's head, but then never had a bad snap again. Is he going to continue that streak this year and not have a bad snap the entire year?
This is a guy you want at center. One bad snap in his career, and it was his first snap. You might even want to put the guy at quarterback if he's going to play like that. First time pick, the rest of the time nothing but greatness.
You heard it here first.
The last pick of the 9th round, the 252 football draft, Saxapahaw selects an offensive and defensive lineman at Alamance Christian School, Luke Clapp.
Wow, Luke Clapp just went off the board. Another lineman, a high-impact lineman. At the end of round 9, is this a steal?
I do think it's a good pick. In your opinion, who is the best steal in this draft so far?
The best steal in this draft? Well, I think about people of Nick Baird in his post-game. I think about Bryce McCulley. He was a great pick. Zach Putnell is a wild card who could have been a first-rounder. I think of Mike Casimir. If he starts showing up, he could be a great pick. Mike Pike at 3. I mean, he went number 1 last year. Do you think Mike Pike's angry right now?
I think he is. He's going to show it on the field, though, tomorrow.
Oh, Mike Pike shows up, and as for that, here's the pick.
With the first pick of the 10th round, Saxapahaw selects offensive and defensive player out of the North Carolina school system, Alston Michael McHale Bowman.
Well, you heard it here first. Alston Michael Bowman was selected. Can this guy impact his team, or will he just be a headache?
We saw his soccer career at Southern Alamance. He was very effective. He competes in fantasy football every year. I think he's just a competitor. It runs in his blood. His dad's a competitor, professional poker player. I think he'll bring this competitiveness to his team. We need to see this guy more than 3 or 4 or 5 games this season.
Now, Alston Michael, here's the pick.
With the second pick in the 10th round, Swepsonville selects offensive and defensive lineman out of Eastern Alamance High School, Marcus Harrison.
This guy could have been a second rounder, maybe a first rounder, maybe picked ahead of Jalen Faust. This guy is a top offensive lineman. How did he go this low?
Just his availability is in question. This guy comes to games. He will be a top lineman. Name one Eastern Alamance player who's played in this league who's not effective.
Isaac Irby.
A John Kirby coach player.
I'm speechless.
My point exactly.
Here's the pick.
With the third pick of the 9th.
I think he's changing his pick. What do you think?
I hope that's what he's doing.
We'll see. Hopefully it's a good one. He's taking a while.
Here's the pick.
With the third pick of the 10th round, Saxapahaw selects an offensive and defensive player out of the Alamance Community College Bucks, Javier Gonzalez.
Javier, some would say Javier. This guy is a talent, but he was drafted under Ruben. Tell me.
Most would say Javier, as I do. But yes, he drafted under Ruben. Might see some cousin rivalry there. And here's the next pick.
There you have it.
With the fourth pick in the 10th round, Swepsonville selects two-way player out of Southern Alamance High School, Luke Dawkins.
Luke Dawkins, he was a top player in blitzball this season. But blitzball is a different sport. Can he bring it in football?
He can. He came last season to a game. Halfway through the game, as soon as he got there, his impact was felt. He was dominating, making great catches. But I'm surprised that there are some top players still left on the board, such as Lane Sanders, Caleb Cobb, Billy McCormick, Judah Jansen, Will Andrews. These guys haven't been drafted yet.
Let's see if they are now.
With the 5th pick of the 10th round, Saxapahaw selects an offensive lineman and cornerback out of the Alamance Community College Bucks system, Lane Sanders.
Well, Josh Chick said that he was better than Blake Epps at defense, and Josh Chick got both. Is Josh Chick winning this draft right now?
Josh Chick's team is officially loaded at defense. This may be the steal of the draft. Getting a player compared to Blake Epps, who was drafted number 2 overall in the 10th round. I don't know what's more than a steal than that.
Did anyone even have a catch against Lane last year when Lane lined up against him as a cornerback?
I don't think he did. Plus, his offensive lineman talent was great.
You can't underrate offensive linemen this year. They are just too impactful. The quarterback won't have time to throw. The running back will not have holes to run through. The wide receivers, they need a block too.
Josh Chick has Austin McClendon on his team this year. He was not a running back heavy last year with his offense, but now that he has the MVP, do you expect to see him run the ball more?
I would like to see Josh Chick run the ball more. I mean, he needs help. He needs to set up a ground game so that he can have some play action, so that he can get some open looks to receivers. Josh Chick is known for throwing picks. Do you think the play action will make Josh Chick a better quarterback?
I think Josh Chick would benefit from the play action. He's not a deep ball thrower, but he can make short throws, but the running game would open up his offense. And also, Josh Chick is probably the best open field player in the league. His hip swivel can't pull the flag. The only player known to stop him was the first pick in this draft, Alex Shalansky.
Some would say that Josh Chick got all of his highlights off Austin McClendon. What do you say to that?
I say that he's on his team this year, so that's either going to help Austin or help Josh. But here we come after an extended break.
There is a trade to be announced. Saxapahaw trades Alex Kivett and John Hester for the combination of Nick Baird and Kenry Park.
We just saw a trade go down. That sounded like 4 linemen to me. Who got the better set of linemen?
I'm glad to see Nick Baird and Kenry Park on the same team, as they have great team chemistry, but I think we can see from both captains, they're doing all they can to load their line this year. And we may see some free agent pickups of linemen this year. We may see some other linemen say, hey, look, we need good linemen because this is the year of the linemen. They'll bring their lineman friends. We may see skill guys say, I would benefit from some linemen.
The last pick in the 10th round, Swepsonville selects offensive lineman, offensive player, defensive lineman out of Alamance Community College, Jacob Anthony.
Now, Jacob Anthony is an underrated pick. This man is an offensive lineman and defensive talent. And when I say that, I mean this guy, he's looking to match Alex Shalansky production. I'm saying that myself. Both of them are straight out of Eastern Alamance. I'm looking to see Jacob Anthony possibly lead the league in flag pulls as long as he shows up to enough games. I think that's not too big of a stretch. What do you think?
I think Alex Shalansky will lead the league in flag pulls. Matt Handy was a leader last year, but he's no longer in the league.
With the first pick in the 11th round, Swepsonville selects offensive and defensive lineman out of ACC, Caleb Cobb.
Caleb Cobb with the selection. He's just a solid lineman that you just plug and you just know Caleb Cobb, he's going to give you all that he has. Is all that he has enough?
This is a great lineman addition in round 11. I think he's going to play with the chip on his shoulder being picked so low. I'm not really sure why he did. Maybe just the way the draft fell. Maybe they overlooked him. But this is a great pick and will really help the team.
You heard it here first, folks. Maybe they looked at the players in reverse alphabetical order. Well, here is the deputy commissioner with the deputy pick.
With the second pick of the 11th round of the 252 football draft, Saxapahaw selects offensive and defensive lineman out of Alamance County, Hunter Massey.
Hunter Massey just got picked. He's the type of guy that he can bring levels of offensive lineman and defensive lineman play that this league may have never seen. And for him to be picked in round 11 is extraordinary. He's a guy that we don't quite know what we're going to get out of him, but we sort of do know. And we know that it's going to be talent. Tell me about Hunter Massey.
See another guy like this, him and Caleb Cobb going round 11. I think that says this is one of the deepest drafts in flag football history. What are you looking forward to most this year from just the depth in flag football?
Well, I know that if somebody's out of town or who knows what, maybe people miss for all sorts of reasons. And here's the pick.
With the third pick in the 11th round, Swepsonville selects offensive and defensive lineman out of Southern Alamance High School, Luke Horton.
Now, Luke Horton is a guy who, he's just a solid depth lineman who can come in and be an excellent starter. Who, out of the three, Hunter Massey, Luke Horton, and Caleb Cobb, who's going to give the best production at lineman?
That's a tough question. I have to go with Caleb Cobb. I think he was very effective last year. Hunter Massey, we haven't seen what he can do. Luke Horton, don't get me wrong, he's a great player. But Caleb Cobb had some flashes of dominance.
Hopefully we can see Luke Horton match up directly with Caleb Cobb and see who really is the better player. Any projections on who's going to go next?
It's hard to believe that Will Andrews, one of the top reception leaders, is still on the board through 11 rounds.
And here's the pick.
With the fourth pick, the 11th round, Saxapahaw selects a two-way player out of Alamance County, Tyler Tharp.
Now, Tyler Tharp, he's a new addition to the league. We don't know what we're going to get out of him. Do you know what we're going to get out of him?
I don't.
Well, what would you like to see out of him?
Some dominance at offensive line.
And here is the pick.
With the 5th pick in the 11th round, Swepsonville selects wide receiver and defensive player out of Alamance County, Kyle Bradley.
Kyle Bradley, he showed up to a preseason game last year, if I remember correctly. Why did he go so low?
Sorry, you don't remember correctly. He actually came to a regular season game. It was very impactful. He's a high character guy. He's a great Christian guy who's just gonna be selfless, be willing to do whatever the team needs, and we're willing to stop talking and let you hear this pick.
With the final pick, the 11th round of the 252 football draft, Saxapahaw selects a wide receiver and defensive star at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, Billy McCormick.
Wow, Billy McCormick went off the board. When I think of Billy McCormick, I know what you're thinking, and you know what I'm thinking. It was that bobbling catch he made, a 60-yarder. Billy McCormick. That was one of the top plays of the year. That game had so many top plays. Billy McCormick was there. He contributed. There was a touchdown on that drive. Tell me, Billy McCormick, how many receiving touchdowns is he going to have?
At least 3 this year. Billy McCormick, first play of the season. You know, it was really a turning point for Swepson. They were struggling to move the ball after the Blake Edwards-Billy McCormick connection.
First pick, the 12th round, 252 football draft. Saxapahaw selects the two-way player at Southern Alamance High School, Caleb Hensley.
Caleb Hensley, he's a guy that we don't know what we're going to get out of him. Well, I don't. Hopefully you do. Tell me about him.
You know, we get a lot of good things out of Caleb Hensley.
Well, I was hoping for specifics, but man, he doesn't have them. You heard it here first, folks, and you're about to hear this pick next.
With the 2nd pick of the 12th round, Swepsonville selects offensive and defensive lineman out of Southern Alamance High School, Jack Pendergraft.
Jack Pendergraft just got selected. Some would say he's a soft player. What do you say to that?
I disagree. He came, played basketball with us, was pretty effective, was handing out losses to Will Andrews and Isaac Irby. And I think he's going to hand out losses to Will Andrews this year if Will Andrews gets drafted. Still on the board. That's unbelievable. What do you think about that?
I think he might go undrafted. I mean, doesn't look like anybody's trying to pick him. Why do you think that is?
Not much of a team player. He cares about stats, doesn't care about winning. But he's effective and has good chemistry with Josh Chick. Isaac Irby just came out. Maybe he was thinking about drafting Will Andrews, maybe not. I'd like to see Will Andrews go to Josh Chick's team.
Well, we know that Will Andrews was a system player with Josh Chick, and here's the pick.
With the 3rd pick of the 12th round, Saxapahaw selects a receiver and cornerback out of the Netherlands, Judah Jansen.
Wow, some would say Janssen.
Those would be right.
Well, this guy, he's out of the Netherlands. We know that he can catch passes, he can play corner. What does he bring to this team?
Brings consistency, character, catching, brings all the C's. This guy's the guy you want on your team. There's not many guys in this draft that you don't want on your team, but for him to go in the 12th round and be as productive as he was last season, very surprising.
With the 4th pick in the 12th round, Swepsonville selects offensive and defensive lineman representing Comtech, Mike Farlow.
Mike Farlow just got picked. Dad of Hunter Farlow. Who's stronger, Mike or Hunter?
Mike Farlow is a better player than Hunter Farlow, and that's saying a lot considering Hunter Farlow was drafted in the top few rounds. We'll see how many games Mike Farlow can make it to. I think he could be a candidate for Lineman of the Week every week.
Here we go. Is this the 13th round?
All right, he's wrong.
Almost.
All right. They're taking a while. What do you think?
Will we see a 3rd trade?
I'd like to see one.
What was your favorite moment from last year's season?
Well, there was a lot of great moments. When I think back, it has to be the Austin Smith game-winning touchdown. I mean, that was a prayer. I'll tell you more about it after this pick.
With the 5th pick of the 12th round, Saxapahaw selects two-way player at Alamance Christian School, Nolan Hadley.
Now, this is a little-known fact I'm going to let you know. that end-of-game play with Austin Smith, that was dialed up originally for it to be me halfback passing it.
With the last pick of the 12th round, Swepsonville selects two-way lineman out of the military, Brett Teixeira.
So, if I had halfback passed that, do you think it would have been a score, or do you think it would have lost the game?
Would have been a loss. I think you were the most overrated player in flag football last year and the biggest teammate chemistry killer in the league.
Round 13, pick 1, Swepsonville selects Taylor Brown.
Some would say, to be overrated, you have to at least be good. What do you say to that?
Disagree.
Here's the pick.
Round 13, pick 2. Saxapahaw selects Grant Johnson.
Who's your favorite player from last season?
Wow. I was rivals with everybody on the field, so it's hard to pick.
Round 13, pick 3, Swepsonville selects Richard Howard.
Do you think a run-heavy offense or a pass-heavy offense is more effective?
Well, it depends on who you have at running back. If it's Austin McClendon, throw the ball.
Round 13, pick 4. Saxapahaw selects Chase Owens.
Where is Will Andrews?
I don't think he's going to get picked. I think he's going to be a free agent. He's going to be free to sign with either team. What do you think?
15 rounds. We'll see.
Round 13, pick 5, Swepsonville selects Floyd Clapp.
Since this is the year of the lineman, who's your pick for offensive lineman of the year?
When I think of offensive lineman of the year, there's only one name that comes to mind. He was picked as the first lineman off the board, Jalen Faust.
Round 13, final pick. Offensive lineman, David Bennett.
I think I'm going to go with the actual first lineman picked, Mike Pike.
That's an interesting pick. Obviously, I was talking about the first lineman that I picked because I'm the only one that makes confident picks. What do you say to that?
Thought we were commentators.
Round
not making
14,
the picks.
pick number 1, Jacob Sykes.
That was a very confident pick running off the stage as he gets booed.
You know, some people just know who they want to pick next.
Round 14, pick 2, Swepsonville selects Caleb Cheesy Chester.
Cheesy Chester off the board. Is the tight end position going away in flag football?
I think tight end is disappearing, but only due to the unavailability of linemen.
Here's the pick.
Round 13, pick 3, John Michael Scott.
John Michael Scott off the board there. I have to ask you,
Round 14, this guy's so unconfident in his picks, he's getting his rounds mixed up.
that's unfortunate. How do you feel about linemen who want the 3 linemen, 2 tight end formation?
Round 14, pick 4, Swepsonville selects Cole McGreen.
I think the 5 linemen, 2 tight end formation is the most effective. 1 running back in the backfield, 2 wide receivers out wide. I hope to see that formation this year.
I do too.
Round 14, pick 5. Saxapahaw selects Jacob Hasbro.
How much talent does a team have to win despite having Josh Chick at quarterback?
I think if you have a line around him that doesn't force him to have to throw the ball a lot and a good play caller, sometimes Josh Chick struggle to call plays while leading his team and playing quarterback. You give him a good play caller like Austin McClendon, I think he'll succeed.
Round 14, pick 6, Swepsonville selects the Brandon Scott.
You talk about play calling. I got to ask, who was the best play caller in the league last year on the offensive end?
I think Davis Capper was maybe not the most creative play caller, but the best play caller. Best play caller probably
The
Alex.
first pick of the final round, Swepsonville selects Bob Medley.
Bob Medley off the board there. Alex Shalansky and Davis Capper. You just said Davis Capper wasn't creative. Do you think he'll respond?
I think he's a creative person, just not a creative play caller. But his play calling is very effective and smart. Alex Shalansky, a creative play caller and effective. Mike Pike, just a creative play caller.
Round 15, pick 2, Aaron Moss.
You bring up Mike Pike and his play calling. Mike Pike is a very authoritative person. Is he going to be an authority figure in the huddle?
I think he is. I think that's what's underestimated. Voices in the huddle.
Round 15, pick 3, Swepsonville selects Scott Summey.
Which player are you looking forward to being the most vocal in the huddle? Like, who is going to help their team by being vocal in the huddle?
Alex Shalansky, as I said.
Round 15, pick 4, Will Andrews.
And
What? Is Will Andrews off the board? Is he not a free agent?
Will Andrews just got selected. That was the 4th pick of round 15. If you missed it, it was gone in the blink of an eye. And here's the next pick.
Round 15, pick 5, Swepsonville selects Jonathan Day.
Jonathan Day off the board there.
You know, Will Andrews went last year, so he's improved his draft spot 4 rounds. So you should be happy with that improvement.
I agree. I mean, there's a few more people up next. Here comes the next pick.
Round 15, pick 6, Jordan Moore.
Jordan Moore off the board there. Can any of these 15 rounders be any good?
I think the most likely is probably Jordan Moore. He is a lineman and can contribute.
Look forward to it.
Round 15, pick 7. The last pick for Swepsonville. Swepsonville selects Mason Shaw.
That was the last pick for Swepsonville. How's their roster looking?
It's hard to say. Both teams are loaded with talent, and both teams are balanced. I think we're going to see every game be close.
You heard it here first.
And with the final pick of the 252 football draft, Saxapahaw selects a wide receiver and tackle corner out of Eastern Carolina University, Nicholas Hargrove.
Nick Hargrove off the board there. Why did he go last?
It's a great question. I can't believe Matt Handy passed on him for 15 rounds.
Me either.
That concludes the 2017 252 flag football draft. Thank you everyone for entering the draft. Free agents will be available throughout the season. We will see you tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock at Alexander Wilson Elementary School, May the 27th, for the opening day of flag football. Let's have a fun year.
For Isaac Irby, this is Matt Handy signing off.